What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Montyverse, and we just got out of Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and we are so pumped to talk about it. It's me, it's Monty, and I'm joined by Nikki. What's up, Nikki?
Not much, but I'm super pumped too for this movie.
Guys, fair warning, this movie's been out in Japan for like 2 months now, and today was the official worldwide release, so this is going to be a full spoiler review. Consider this your spoiler warning right here. But, with that being said, Gohan and Piccolo fans are eating good today. The redemption has come, and we got great stuff to talk about Gohan and Piccolo.
Yes, we have a lot of great stuff. I would argue probably a little more Piccolo, though, would you say?
You know what? Before we get there,
okay,
let's talk about the villains of this movie, because back is the Red Ribbon Army.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, you know what? I love that they brought back the Red Ribbon Army.
Yes, 100%.
I think if they were going to do this type of movie, that is the perfect villain to bring back. It's a villain that ties back to Goku's early days from Dragon Ball. Mm-hmm. It has a thread all the way through Dragon Ball Z, and it has very close ties to both Piccolo and Gohan. And this movie, in bringing back the Red Ribbon Army, this movie essentially is able to reference every era of Dragon Ball. It references the early days of Dragon Ball. It references the Demon King Piccolo arc. It references the Saiyan saga, the Namek saga, the Frieza, Cell, the androids, Dr. Gero, Majin Buu. It's just like, it's a world tour of Dragon Ball Z as told through Dragon Ball Super.
I was going to say, like, you kind of mentioned all these references. In a way, it feels like fan service to the franchise, but in a way that works for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't feel hokey. Like, just really quickly, when you said that, it made me think of the there's a driver's license joke. Which which references, we'll get to it, but it really pays homage to the franchise as a whole, and it was great.
This movie is fan service heavy, but it's done in a way that services the story extremely well, so it's easily forgivable until about the end, when it feels very heavy-handed.
Right, but that's the thing. I think the reason it works is because it's also just a great story, because one of the first things that I brought up after we got out was a lot of anime movies, especially ones based on existing series, they tend to, need to be a fan to understand what's going on, but by all means, while Dragon Ball fans will appreciate this movie the most, it's just a solid movie in itself for what it does.
Absolutely. This story is told very well, because this movie does have a story. I know that a lot of people... This movie and Broly are two different animals. So if you went into Dragon Ball Super Broly expecting this movie to be the same thing, don't. This movie is completely different. While Broly was Super going back to the old days of Z, what it felt like in terms of the fighting, because that movie was like 2/3 of a fight, it focused very heavily on Saiyans. The Saiyans that exist currently in the universe, and the past of the planet Vegeta with all the Saiyans on it, and their relationship to Frieza. This movie focuses on all of the other characters that are not Saiyans. And it has a great story. It felt like it was telling a old school Dragon Ball Z arc by way of Dragon Ball Super, which I already said, but that's how excited I am about this movie. Like, I felt like I was a kid again, rushing home to watch Dragon Ball Z. It was so cool.
It was so cool. I mean, just like the opening shot, because there's some narration kind of going into the history of the Red Ribbon Army, and they have these shots of Kid Goku literally taking them down with narration kind of explaining, which makes it sound bad, like it's exposition heavy, but it works within the confines of the story to kind of show how we got here to the current incarnation of the Red Ribbon Army.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a lot of those vignettes or those scenes of famous scenes from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z shown either from different perspectives or newly animated for this movie, and it was really cool to see that.
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job, which, speaking of which, the animation in this movie, I know we're going to jump around, but man, that needs a shout out.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the animation, because the animation floored me. It was gorgeous, but if you remember, we were at the New York Comic Con panel in 2020 when they were first revealed the world premiere of the trailer and the first details of this movie. And when we saw the poster and we saw the character designs and we saw the new animation style, and then the creators started talking about that the theme of this movie was going to be pop. The design aesthetic of this movie was going to be pop. I didn't really understand their vision yet, because when you say that, I think wacky, Dragon Ball, Gohan is it's called superhero, Gohan's going to be the great Saiyan man, he's going to be the main character, but he's going to be the great Saiyan man, so all of these thoughts ran in my head, but watching it now, I fully understand all of the things they knew that they didn't tell us.
Right.
And this movie is pop. And I'm going to let you talk, but I want to elaborate on that more when you're done, because I totally get what they were going for now.
No, definitely. And I don't know if this is your idea of pop, but you'll get into it. But like I kind of said earlier, is I think what really elevates this movie is it's just a great movie. Whether you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, an anime fan, an animation fan, it's just a great movie. And I think a lot of that does have to do with the style of it, because I think a lot of the humor works. It's kind of the cheesy Dragon Ball humor you're familiar with, but it also packs in a lot of amazing action sequences, animated absolutely gorgeously. I think that the score is phenomenal, and I think it just like has a lot of these really awesome, appealing aspects that I don't think people can just deny the quality of.
And the score is never overused. And it's always used at the right moment in a fight scene or the right scene. And it's they have a couple of different ones that they use, but there's that really heroic one.
Yes.
And it plays perfectly every time.
It is. And like you touch on it perfectly. It's never overused, and even in like smaller scenes that don't have the biggest effect on the overarching plot, it just comes in at the right moment. There's so much I just want to talk about, but I'll leave it at that for now. The score is amazing.
Yeah, and in regards to the pop, like you are right in a way. Like this movie, I think, uses the word pop and it takes every definition of it and uses it. It's pop in the sense of its colors. It's bright. The colors pop out at you. It's pop in the sense of it's loud. It's
right.
The animation is bold and bright. It's pop in the sense of it tackles pop culture.
Yeah.
Modern pop culture of both Eastern and Western descent. Like superheroes. Superheroes are dominating the pop culture scene right now.
Oh God, yes.
And this movie covers that so well and weaves it into the story so well.
Like literally, heroes and villains are brought up are just talked about as a general concept in this movie, and it's amazing because the way it comes across is very much it's in tune with our modern sensibilities, with all the superhero properties we have now. I think it just will connect with people on so many levels.
The young Dr. Hito being a Comic-Con attendee, being a fan of superheroes, is so inspired.
And he dresses like one.
In the Dragon Ball franchise. Like, it's so good. And I love all the new characters.
Yes, everyone is amazing. I don't dislike any new character.
There's not a single new character. Like, everyone is good in their role. Like Carmine. Yes. I love that he brands everything.
He brands everything, and they literally have an indentation in the car for his pompadour.
I love how he brands everything. They have an indentation for his pompadour, and he has a private YouTube channel. He made a YouTube channel just to spy on the Z Fighters. It's insane. I love it.
And for some reason, one video has 5 views. Another one had 12 views.
Because it's just him constantly refreshing the page, constantly changing the logo. He has to click on the video. But Carmine's great. I love Carmine. He's the definition of a perfect side character.
Yes.
He's good. Magenta. Is it magenta or magenta?
I say magenta. I've never heard
I don't remember how they pronounce it.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Great. Stereotypical Italian crime boss.
And like weirdly probably the most normal voice I've ever heard from Mario Waluigi actor Charles Martinet.
It's me, Mario.
Yes, but
this guy he goes Mario is this end of the Italian spectrum. He goes this end. He goes the complete opposite. It's like Tony Soprano, like Godfather, Goodfella-esque.
But he's great. Like his actual performance, like beyond the voice, is great.
I love him as a character. Dr. Hito, voiced by Tanjiro himself, Zach Aguilar. Great in the role. I love him. Such a great new character, the grandson of Dr. Jiro. This movie, we'll touch on this later, but this movie has a lot of familial connections to it. We have Hito is the son of Dr. Jiro, and Magenta is the son of, the grandson of Dr. Jiro, and Magenta is the son of Commander Red from Dragon Ball.
And honestly, a testament to these characters, I think they would have been equally as great if they didn't have any connection with their family.
They definitely could have stood by themselves.
Like, they were just great, and I think even though they played into some level of stereotype, they still stood on their own. Like, Hito's the kind of character I would have expected to be, like, a little sniveling shitweasel who, like, is an awkward scientist who has no social skills. No, there's way more to him than that. Everything you just touched on with the heroes.
Kind of a mirror image of Gohan, some would say. Nothing like the people that came before him, kind of forging his own path in life. wants to be a superhero.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of parallels, and I think that's why they have the familial connections, because it helps with the overarching story that they're trying to tell. But let's talk about. I think we can both agree that Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 steal every scene that they're in. They are so good.
They also stole my heart. Like, not to be cheesy.
So good.
First of all, I do love their designs. There's nothing
simple.
They're exactly. They're very unique, but they're not overly complicated.
You look at them and you know exactly what they want to be. Their look tells a story.
Right. It tells a story, but even then, their portrayal, because we knew what they were going to look like going in the movie, but their portrayal adds so much more than I ever would have expected in terms of just depth of character, just personality, and I can't harp on the performances enough. Their performances from both their actors are incredible.
I know Zeno Robinson is Gamma 2.
Yes, I believe I'm probably gonna butcher this. Alex Lee is Gamma 1.
Yes,
I believe so.
It's L-I. I don't know how I pronounce it. Lee or Lie.
I think it's L-E actually.
Oh, it's L-E.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know that name's correct. I believe.
Yeah, and then Zeno Robinson is Gamma 2.
Gamma 2.
And is absolutely phenomenal. He is very over the top in some scenes, but it never feels hokey.
Gamma 2 is such a great character, and the interplay between the Gammas is great. The conflicting personalities, but not in a way that's over the top or unnecessary.
Or like they hate each other and like they can't work together. No, like, and that's like. And honestly, I would have been totally okay with more of them in the movie.
We see them bickering all the time, but at the end of the day, they just tap each other and they're like, yo, we got this.
Right.
Like, they're just trying to help each other up. Like, it's just...
And they have moral compasses.
Yes.
That, even though they work for the bad guys, it doesn't feel like some weird, like, bait and switch or any, like, overly hokey, contrived thing.
It's nice to have complicated villains in Dragon Ball again. It's not Frieza, who's space H word. I don't want to say it in case YouTube doesn't like the H word. But there's Frieza, there's Broly, like, it's beat 'em up, bad guy, good and bad. Like, even though Broly's not bad... Broly has this animalistic side that they have to take down, so it's a very simplistic fight. But the fight with Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 between Gohan and Piccolo is more of Piccolo trying to get through to them, sees the good in them, and that's what makes Piccolo such a great character.
Right, and I mean, Piccolo's doing that just because he's doing what he needs to do to rectify the situation as best to his ability, not because he's out for blood.
Yeah, and let's talk about Piccolo, because Piccolo is the star of the show.
100%.
This is Piccolo's movie, and it's about damn time.
Yes, there's maybe a few minutes where you could argue he's not, but this is basically his movie, and he's phenomenal in every scene he's in.
That man raised Goku's kid for years, and the least they could do is give him his own movie, and they finally did.
Yes, and honestly, like, it even exceeded my expectations the way that they portrayed him, because, like we kind of talked about earlier, there is, like, a full narrative in this story. It's not all fighting all the time. There's like a story. He has kind of a mission that he's going on the entire time to take down this new Red Ribbon Army. And again, like, yeah, there's fighting, but he's also intelligent. The way he just goes about it is just a blast to watch.
Piccolo is the star of this movie, not just because. It's not a ham-fisted reason to make Piccolo the star of this movie. He is a star to service the story they are telling, because he is the vehicle through which the story is told. And he has so many great character interactions, and you just see what a great character Piccolo is by all of the different characters he interacts with in this movie. From Dende to Korin to Gohan to Krillin. Everyone sees Piccolo a certain way. And Piccolo himself is so good at seeing people for who they really are, which is so interesting. And it's so good to see him just still being Piccolo and punching Pan right in the stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Throwing her into a rock.
And that's my biggest thing, because I personally have not seen a whole lot of Super. I was a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, but so I haven't really seen in terms of if he's had a huge character evolution, but the way he's portrayed in this is that, like, you can see the growth he's gone through, but none of it betrays his character at all.
No, he is definitely, I think what this movie does best is it tells the story of Piccolo matured. Like, Piccolo, because when we meet Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z, he's only, 4 years old at that point? 3 years old?
Right, and he's still coming off of all the stuff he just did from the previous series.
So I think this is a Piccolo that has formed a very deep, emotional, you could say father-son, you could say master-student, you could say whatever you want to say. the relationship he has with Gohan is probably the strongest in the series besides the spouses, besides the relationship that Gohan has with Pan or, Videl.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship he has with Piccolo is different.
Yes, it's from any other relationship in the whole franchise.
And it's such a special relationship. And this movie is a love letter to that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The way that Piccolo... They constantly get Piccolo to pick Pan up from school. He's always worried about Gohan. Is he training?
Right. If anything, it's almost like Goku a little bit all over again.
Yeah. So Piccolo... This movie has showed that Piccolo has matured.
Mm-hmm.
He has the strong familial bond with Gohan and his family. He is still the brilliant tactical mastermind that we know he has. It reinforces the fact that he will never run away from a fight. He's still a warrior at heart.
Mm-hmm.
He will never take the easy way out. It solves the Goku and Vegeta problem so well.
Yes.
Because Dragon Ball Super, let's face it had a Goku and Vegeta problem.
Yeah.
It made Goku and Vegeta so overwhelmingly powerful that it's essentially like anything that happens, we'll just call Goku and Vegeta.
Right.
And that's kind of an arc that Gohan went through in Super.
Right. I mean, that goes as far back as even Z to some extent. So, and it's not even a knock against the characters, but that's just what also makes this movie particularly refreshing.
And I love how the main part of this movie is Piccolo having to plan for a fight without Goku and Vegeta.
Oh god, like the intricacy of the entire thing and just how resourceful he is like on so many levels is absolutely insane. And the fact that like in a way, like getting up to the climatic fights, he basically succeeds. Like everything kind of goes according to plan, but again, not in a way that ever feels contrived. It's just because he's that smart.
Yeah, I mean, I was Team Piccolo all the way, and then he was like, "Hey, maybe if I let Pan get kidnapped, I can unlock Gohan's power." And I'm like, "Is that Goku?" I'm like, "Did you just turn into Goku right now?" Piccolo, what are you doing? And I'm like, that's old Piccolo. That's the way that Piccolo used to train Gohan.
Right.
He's like, yo, I'm gonna hurt you, but you're gonna come back stronger. And, it works. To Piccolo's credit, it works.
It works. I mean,
Papa Piccolo.
Yeah. It's insane. I think this only works with him being at the steering wheel of this plan.
Yeah.
Though.
So we talked, but the last thing I want to touch on with Piccolo is I love the camaraderie and the respect that he has with the Gammas by the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
The way that they build that mutual respect between him and Gamma 2 is so well done. It reminds me a lot of like what Age of Ultron tried to do with Hawkeye and Quicksilver, but it's better. It's done better here. I think that mutual instinct, that morality, that warrior, that pride that both of them have, is very much on display, and Piccolo is able to see the good in Gamma 2. So they have a bunch of really nice moments in this film. Even though this is a spoiler review, I don't want to give everything away because I really want people to go see this movie because it's so good.
It really is, and especially like where the movie ends, it's a genuinely earned emotional conclusion.
Yes, it's very like everything comes full circle. There's nothing really left hanging by the end of the movie. Everything's kind of wrapped up nice and neat in a bow. This is a perfect self-contained movie, whereas the Broly movie was left open-ended.
Yeah.
This movie was kind of left like, this is where our characters are at now. End movie. And it's better off for it. I think it tells a neater, more complete story than any of the past few previous Dragon Ball movies.
And by all means, I assume that this movie will have ramifications for any continuations, but it still, again, works within itself as a self-contained story. Yeah. And that's why it's so great. Yeah.
And I think let's move on to the man of the hour, I guess. Let's talk Gohan. People had a lot of I don't know why you're laughing. I just want to talk Gohan right now.
I mean, it's just what we're about to say, though.
People expected big things from Gohan, and in a way they got them. I was a little disappointed with how Gohan was portrayed in the film. Not enough to ruin the film for me. Like, I get why they do it. Gohan, unfortunately, has a habit of repeating bad habits over and over again. He's just back to his studying. While he's not as bad as he was...
Man, bad habits? I wonder where he gets that from. Obsessiveness?
I don't know. His mom beat him a lot when he was a kid. I don't know. But he's not as bad as he was at the beginning of Super, but he's not... He's looking skinny. He's looking skinny again.
Yeah, they literally have a joke about it that's made pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, he can't lift Piccolo's training gear. And again, he gets massive power-ups in rapid succession.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish we would have delved into Gohan and Piccolo's training a little bit. But we do have implications that Gohan does his own private training secretly. So there is that. But... yeah, not as, like, Gohan, the fights that Gohan's in
are phenomenal.
Are amazing. And when he does show up, he shows up big.
Yes. And that's the biggest thing is I guess my assumption is, in terms of the power-ups he gets in the movie, it's just to illustrate his potential and, like, this is how much potential he has to be great when he actually wants to be. And I think, but now, by all means, I'm with you, though. I kind of wish we got more of him and delved into that deeper.
I mean, Piccolo and Gohan both get new forms in this film. Mm-hmm. Piccolo's are a lot more explained, and a lot more detail is put into them than Gohan's form.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's called Gohan Rage. I tried to look it up after the movie, but I think it's Rage Gohan or Gohan Rage, which is just an adult version of Gohan with the silhouette of Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Yeah. So that means the hair is bigger to make up for the bigger body that he had, and it's white here.
Yeah.
So, while it is cool, and when he shows up, again, he shows up.
Mm-hmm.
I just really wish that there would have been more explanation to it. Like, it's implied that it's the same kind of power boost that Gohan gets when he fights Cell. You have the same red slash across the screen when Android 16's head gets crushed and Gohan loses it and he snaps.
Yeah.
So, if that's Gohan letting go and becoming... unleashing all of his potential, every piece of potential he has in his body gets released into this new form. I just really wish we would have gotten a little more time with it. But again, I like it, and I hope this leads to something. Like, I hope this is not the last time we see it. I want it expanded upon the way that Blue was expanded upon after we saw it in Resurrection of F.
Right, and I mean, and tell me if I'm being over dramatic with this, is now that we have Gohan where he ends in this movie, if he were to regress to the same habits again going forward,
I think it's unforgivable. I think if Gohan regresses again, I think at that point you just have to kind of give up on Gohan.
Right.
Like, we understand that Gohan was never meant to be Goku, but that doesn't mean he has to give up entirely on his fight. Like, have him be a scholar, but also have him, occasionally train with Piccolo, like at the beginning of Super.
Right. Because, and that's the other thing, it's like you said, if they want to give up on him, that's their prerogative. But at this point, especially as fans of the character, I just don't want the teases anymore.
Yeah, like, I love for this to be a new chapter. What I'm hoping is that, since this is the first time Pan was the implication of Pan's life being lost was always there the previous times that Gohan's lost it in Super. But this time Pan was physically taken, and they targeted him specifically, and they came for him and his family. So I'm hoping that's the missing piece that finally says, again, Gohan says at the end of the movie, you're right, Piccolo, I messed up, I'm sorry. And hopefully that's the push he needs to at least keep up with his training a little bit. I'm not saying Gohan doesn't need to be Goku.
No.
I don't need Gohan to be Goku. He's his own man.
We don't need another Goku.
No one needs another Goku. One Goku is more than enough. But I just want to see Gohan find a healthy balance in life, I think.
I 100% agree, because no one is saying, like you said, he doesn't have to be Goku. He can't follow his other dreams that deviate from what his father did. But again, we need to stop the back and forth constantly. Like, just pick a lane already.
Yeah.
And like, unless there's a really compelling plot reason for it, we don't need to keep this same song and dance keep going again.
Yeah. So that's it with Gohan. Love Gohan. Love the new form. Love all of his fight scenes. I just wish we would have did more with the character than the same rinse, wash, repeat that we usually do with him. But hopefully this leads to something massive in the if I know the Dragon Ball Super is coming back. That's the rumor going around. So I hope that they do something with that in the continuation. But in terms of the fight scenes, I haven't even talked. Like, we touched on the animation.
Yeah.
But the fight scenes, holy crap! Like, this is how I want to watch every Dragon Ball fight scene. The way that I say the camera, but the way that the animation is done, so it portrays camera movement, is so dynamic. You are whipped around the battlefield.
Yes.
360 degrees. Gohan's dropping suplexes and all of these crazy moves. All of the ki blasts are beautifully animated. The color's phenomenal. The effects are great. When Shenron first appears and the background goes black and then the gold comes and the gold flake. Oh my god.
Oh, it's all gorgeous. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with kind of the hilarious what's that move called that Gohan did in the the headlock?
Oh, it's like he had him like in a he like was grabbing Gamma 1's mouth and prying it open, doing like
and then like just bashed him on the ground.
Yeah, and he's doing like a suplex, he's doing like a pile driver. He did like a pile driver at one point.
Whatever it was, like it was so creative, it was so much fun, and I do want to say, like, I don't think there was any fight scenes that were a disappointment, but definitely the team up of Gohan and Piccolo against the Gammas were probably the highlight of the fights of the movie.
You're right. I think out of all the fights, we get a Goku Vegeta sparring match just because we have to sell the movie, and Vegeta and Goku are just too popular not to have in a trailer.
Yeah.
But the Gohan Piccolo tag team fight against the Gammas, wow, blew me away. It was so good. First of all, you have Gohan in his ultimate form. You have Piccolo in his yellow Piccolo form.
Orange.
No, then he's yellow, then he goes orange.
Oh, yeah.
He's like lime green, and then he goes orange. Which I love that they touch on that, by the way.
Which I was so confused at first, because at first I thought it was an animation error, and then it was like, oh, wait, shit.
I love that. And I love how Gohan's like, you need a cool name like Super Saiyan. And he's just like, I'll probably just call it Piccolo. Orange Piccolo. And I'm like orange chicken? And I love it. I love it so much because that's Piccolo. Like, yeah. Like, I don't need a stupid name.
I was going to say, like, literally we now have blue and red Saiyans.
They're running out of colors.
They're running out of colors, but they also have the longest possible names that they could come up with. Orange Piccolo. I love it.
Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, which the fans called blue, and they just went with. They're just like, yeah, it's Super Saiyan blue.
Yeah.
So at this point they're just like, yeah, it's Piccolo. It's Orange Piccolo.
Oh man, but no, that whole fight scene was definitely a highlight of the movie for sure.
So great. Oh my god, the fight scenes. This is how the fights in Broly were great. Don't get me wrong. The animation in Broly was great for the way that was. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the animation here is the future. I feel like this is how I want my Dragon Ball from now on.
Honestly, like, this is the kind of animation I just kind of wish was explored more, because it's, and correct me if I'm wrong and I use the wrong terminology, it's very clearly still anime 2D animation, but it, like we said earlier, like, pop is the word for it. It has this extra dimension to it. Like, you're almost, like, your mind's almost tricked to thinking it's 3D, and it's definitely not, but it's so original, and I don't think I've ever seen this before. I'm not watching as much anime as I used to, so I could be missing something, but even just for, like, animated film in general, I would love to see more of this kind of style.
Absolutely. I think that if they ever wanted to come back to this, I would not be mad at it at all. Like, I was upset when they didn't come back to the Broly style for this movie, but now after seeing this, I'm like, I get why. I get why you want to do something different. This works for this movie.
Right, and by all means, like, I don't think any of the last several movies looked hideous by any means. They've all been great, but, like, this was definitely a risk that I think paid off. And
absolutely.
And maybe they didn't see it that way. I would have said it was, but it paid off.
Listen, it had a lot of people turned off at first. There was a lot of things that they said looked off, but in terms of final product, it looked clean. I liked the thicker black lines. I liked just, oh my gosh, the movement, so fluid. Everything felt so fluid and free flowing.
I don't know if you felt this way. If I had to critique any of the animation, if anything looked off to me, and I know we're gonna get to, like, the larger conversation of this, it was actually weirdly Goku and Vegeta. Something about them looked a little bit bizarre.
Goku's pants looked weird. The bottom of his pants looked, like, really big compared to, like, the taper is too big. I know what you're talking about. Goku did look off to me. Vegeta not so much. I think Vegeta looked perfect.
He looked better.
Vegeta looked good.
That was the only time the animation was distracting.
Yeah.
But thankfully it's not a huge enough part of the movie that it even really detracted. And again, it didn't look bad. It just was the only thing close to uncanny for me.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that's the segue to our next topic.
What's our next topic?
We
covered everything in the movie. What's our next topic?
What was, again, the marketing tool, aka the very small subplot with...
Oh, subplot. It's one scene.
It felt like a long scene to me, though.
It's literally the most irrelevant part of the movie. You could cut this scene out and the movie absolutely doesn't suffer at all from it.
It might have been just to increase the length.
It's Goku and Vegeta are training with Whis and Broly on Beerus's planet. Yeah. And Vegeta and they're trying to help Broly control his rage so that they can train with him because while Goku and Vegeta have gotten stronger, but they're still unable to work with Broly because of the fact that he goes into these blind rages. So so that's the continuation of the Broly movie that we were promised. You know, you have them bringing Broly back into the scene, but it's really just, you know, Goku and it's just more training.
I was gonna say, like, by all means, this scene is completely unnecessary for the film. They say outright when Piccolo tries to contact Goku and Vegeta, like, oh yeah, they're off training, and if they left at that, that would have been fine. All things considered, I did find it a fairly entertaining scene, though, especially, like, the dynamic between Beerus and all of them and Whis, and then the one character... It was weird. I think the other thing that was definitely unnecessary was showing the fight at all because
again, you gotta sell it. Goku and Vegeta are too marketable.
Right, and I don't know. Like, I guess to me, because I know a lot of people are huge fans of Vegeta, and I love him. I wouldn't say he's ever been my single favorite fan. Who are going to like watch this happen and be like, oh, this is a fight between Goku and Vegeta. It feels a little tacked on, though.
It is tacked on, but guess what? What were the first 4 action figures announced for this movie? Piccolo, Gohan, Goku, and Vegeta. Wow. But who was first? Goku and Vegeta. Because they sell the most. But that's only because they haven't worked with the other characters as much. So hopefully we see a shift in that. But that's really what... They were only in this movie to sell tickets, to sell merchandise. Their plot adds nothing to this movie whatsoever. I don't mind it. I love Goku. I'm a Goku and Vegeta guy. I love them. Love to see them. But it's not not their time and place for them.
It's not... I kind of think it's interesting because the initial marketing was very vague about the actual plot of the movie. So in a way, I didn't entirely mind that they were in that because the marketing showed Goku and Vegeta and the Red Ribbon Army looking at them. So I didn't know what to expect, and I was like, okay, like I kind of like maybe for that kind of purpose, but otherwise it's no.
This movie definitely is full of like Toriyama humor, and there's like a lot of like crotch shots and like shots coming out of a person's butt.
Oh god, yes.
But one of my favorite pieces of comedy, and I don't know if Toriyama wrote this or this was the animators, but the fact that when they were showing like our hit list of villains in the Capsule Corporation, the fact that Goku is in his gi and the picture of Vegeta's in the pink shirt is so hilariously disrespectful to Vegeta that I just couldn't help but laugh. I was like, yeah, of course they're gonna use the picture of him in the pink shirt because he hates that shirt so much.
Oh my god. And then, like, and that's the thing, there's all these, like, little jabs that they throw in there that we talked about earlier that reference the series, like, and then they have Mr. Satan there as well as, like, he probably has this untapped potential that we don't even know about.
We don't know. They're just like, well, we don't even know what he's about.
Right. And then one of my other favorite jokes was when Piccolo's trying to pilot the ship and he's like, sorry, I don't have my driver's license.
Of course, reference to the infamous Goku and Piccolo
filler
episode where they go to get their driver's license. And no, Piccolo, you did illegally drive that vehicle.
And park it.
And we're watching you. But
that's the kind of humor, you know what, I dig it. Like, maybe in other movies it wouldn't work. It had me cracking up so much.
I love this movie so much. But I think I covered all the main points I wanted to talk about. I think I said my piece. There's obviously small intricate details that I can talk about, like when Piccolo goes orange for the first time and he punches Gamma 2. Like you hear him hit the metal of the android. It makes metallic punches because he's hitting him that hard. He's getting through to his bones, like his metallic bones.
Yeah.
And so little details like that I really, really love.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But besides that, I mean, I could talk about this movie for another 4 hours if I wanted to.
The one thing that we didn't really hit on, and I kind of don't want to, but I kind of just want to make reference. I know how you mentioned that you weren't like the biggest fan of the Goku Vegeta stuff, and if there's one thing about the movie that, barring the Vegeta Goku scene, that would probably be my personal least favorite about the movie would. Unfortunately be what people were believing was going to be the return of Cell.
Well, it was in a way.
It was, but it's not the Cell that I think I was expecting.
It's a different creature.
It's a different creature. It has the semi-perfect form predominantly for some reason. It's basically a mindless beast.
Let's not move around it too much. It's Cell. The name of the creature is Cell Max. It's the final big boss of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine with it. You know, they needed something to fight when they all came together.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it being Cell. I wish Cell wasn't a mindless beast. I wish that he got to talk a little bit. I think emotional warfare between Gohan and Cell was some of the best stuff of Z. So even though this wasn't Cell, he would have had the memories of Cell.
Yes.
And he would have used those memories the way that Majin Buu Super Buu used Piccolo's memories against Gohan.
Right, like, literally this version of Cell did not have a character. And even worse, they even had, like, a slight tease with 18 even making, like, a remark like, oh no, another Cell, like, with all the stuff she dealt with regarding Cell. But it leads literally to nothing in terms of emotional payoff. He's just a big hulking monster they have to kill.
Yeah, and you know what? Good. Good, because this movie gave us something different. All the stuff they did different, I liked. And if they needed a big... Listen, they needed a big monster... That all of them needed to come together to fight at the end. And instead of it making it a random, unattached monster, they made it an unperfect version of this new Cell that they were building. And it plays because it has name recognition. It plays because we as the audience understands the threat. If it was just like, oh, well, this is called Timmy Tommy, and this is the new villain, and it's just like this big monster, and all of a sudden it's stomping Orange Piccolo and Gohan in ultimate form, you're like, okay, what the heck is this? Like, how's but if it's an upgraded version of Cell that has studied the Z fighters as they have been, you know, then you could kind of in your head put like, oh, well, this guy's powerful.
Right. Oh, that's an excellent point. I think even though I've loved all the other new characters in this movie and kind of said they didn't even need to have the attachments, that's a good point in that without it, he would have felt even flatter than he did. I think the biggest issue is how great every other new character he was, he falls just so flat.
But again, he's not a new character. Like, he's a monster. Like, don't think of him as a new character, because he's not. It's not a character. It's more so of a giant monster. It's like Doomsday. It's like the Doomsday monster. It's this big, unbeatable, unstoppable challenge that all of our heroes need to rise up and join together and fight against in order to, you know, end their journey.
Right. And honestly, like, for that being my personal least favorite part of the movie, it's not even that it's horrible. It's just everything around it is just so great in comparison. So
yeah, but again, I wasn't looking at, like, I didn't need Cell to come back and be like, oh, Gohan.
Oh, yeah, no.
How you've grown.
No, I think it just caught me a little bit off guard.
It would have been better. I think it would have been better if... But there's not enough time for it. But here's the thing. Then you cut the time of the Gammas and Dr. Hito and Magenta and Carmine, and I don't want that. So if I have to choose one or the other, I'll choose what we got.
And in fairness, at least it's not Bio Broly.
Yeah, it's not Bio Broly. So there's that. So, yeah, I mean, that being said, take it or leave it. I don't mind it. It's fine. If people are going to be upset by it, they're going to be upset by it. For me, it didn't matter. It's
just that's the weakest part in what's otherwise an amazing movie for me.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of just did talk about Gohan gets a power boost and just one-shots him.
Yeah.
But I will say, while it's essentially like a gratuitous throwback to it's essentially just a mirror image of Gohan's transformation into Super Saiyan 2 in the Cell Saga. What I do love about that is that when Piccolo tells Gohan to pick any attack, he chooses the Makenko Sappo, the special beam cannon. and he ends the fight, instead of ending it with a Kamehameha, he ends it with the special beam cannon. As like a nod, a tip of the cap to his master, his mentor, his first master, Piccolo, and then
that was good.
And then the only if I had to talk about one more thing, it's probably when Piccolo asked him like, "Hey, what was that move you did there at the end?" I was kind of like half dead, and he was like, because Piccolo knows what move it was. He's like, "Oh, it was kind of like a special beam cannon." He's like, "Who taught you that move?" And he's like, "I've been practicing it in private. I've been practicing it in secret." And then Piccolo turns away because he's trying to show, like, he's so fucking proud of Gohan in that moment, but he doesn't want to show him that he's proud. He's secretly, like, crying.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but he's like, oh, it looked pretty good, did a good job. But he's swelling with pride. Like, that was a great moment.
Yeah.
And that beautifully ends the movie with Piccolo and Gohan's relationship.
I was gonna say, like, there's no kind of epilogue or, like, massive, like, continuation beyond the final climax.
No, there's nothing.
And they don't need to. They really don't need to.
The story just ends.
Yep.
And the only thing left to talk about is the post-credit scene, which shows the end of the, like, 6-hour-long sparring session between Goku and Vegeta Vegeta technically beats Goku. Take it for what you will. It was a sparring session. Vegeta has been doing some new mental training that he learned studying Jiren in the Tournament of Power. So he's fighting a bit differently, and him and Goku are both exhausted, and Vegeta's will lasts just a couple of seconds longer, and he lands one final blow on Goku, beating him for the first time Vegeta has ever beaten Goku, I think, in recorded history.
Yay.
Yeah, that's right. It's fine. It's a cute little moment. Vegeta fans are going to go wild. They're going to be like, Vegeta's the best, and good for you guys. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for all of you. I'm a Vegeta fan. I'm also a Goku fan, so I was just like, it's fine. But people are going to love it. Fans of the anime are going to love it. It's a nice little moment. It means nothing.
It truly doesn't.
But, you know, if it means something to you, it means something to you. Because you want to know what? That's what art is. It's up to your interpretation. And I think that's it. I think we covered literally everything.
Oh my god. I mean, if we wanted to dissect like every frame of this, we probably even could do that.
I don't think we're going to do that today.
No, we don't have to. But honestly, I think we could hit all the main points. And the takeaway is this movie's freaking great. And you all should watch it.
Yeah. But I think that's going to be it for us. Nicole, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me at Egglord Nicki on Twitter.
And you guys can find me here on the Montyverse. Find me on all the socials at the Montyverse. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm everywhere. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest content, because we've got stuff coming out all the time. And until next time, guys, stay versed.